Hi, everybody. This is From This Corner TV, and I'm your host, Marilyn Dayton, and I look a little bit different. See if you can figure out what I did. It's called a makeover on vacation. We have a great show, as always, for you tonight, and we have someone that I value highly with us. We're going to be talking about how to lead your life in harmony, happiness, and abundance. But in order to do that, you've got to find your true self. What am I talking about? Well, get out your pen and your paper because you're going to find out. Our guest today is Jan Hoath, Nurture the Leader. And she is known as the happiness heroine. Heroine, and is a leadership coach and intuitive, which is going to be interesting to talk about. And we're going to talk about how to find your true self and transform into your best life in harmony, happiness, and abundance. And Jan, what a thrill to have you here.
Hi.
Thank you so much for driving.
You.
She drove an hour and a half or there and then some to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. This is amazing. This is wonderful.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here. And as we've said, it was absolutely wonderful and worth the distance to come and be with you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I met this wonderful lady and you've heard this before, E-Women Network, the Connecticut chapter with Annie Garland. And we have so many wonderful gals and a guy, members of that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't meet you right away, but mm-hmm. then we started connecting, mm-hmm. and then we had a conversation on the phone, and I said, wow, she will be wonderful to have here. Mm-hmm. Now, I like to start with, tell us your story. How did this all happen, and how did you get to where you are now? What is your story?
Yes, and it's a story and it's a journey. So I'm glad we have a little bit of time here to share and connect because, my company name is Nurture the Leader, mm-hmm. and it originally started when I was a young mom and really realized how much I had to nurture myself and that I really desired to lead my family and my business and my life in a great way. But then it was further down that track that I started to reflect on the bigger picture. And I started to really connect with the challenges that I've had throughout my life, not just as being a young mom caring for young children. I first connected with a concept that I've actually created and that I coach around called the happiness prism. And it's, I hold it here over my heart because it's where the happiness prism lives. And this is the concept that I've created when I share with you now my story. How I came to the happiness prism started when I was 16 years old and I was diagnosed with depression. Mm-hmm. And like anyone with depression, the world really, really feels very dark. I was on antidepressants and nothing was going, except I had a German substitute teacher that saw something in me and she said, try out for this scholarship. And I thought, okay, fine, I have nothing better to do. Well, the next thing you know, we get a call. You're invited to come in for an interview. And then I go in for an interview and then we get a letter. And then the next thing you know, I'm receiving a scholarship to go to Germany for a year as a teenager.
Wow.
And it certainly feels right out of left field. And yet my parents sat me down and said, there's no way they're going to send a teenager on antidepressants. This is in the 90s, so I'm dating myself a little. All relative. But it was before internet. It was before the ability to communicate electronically. It was very expensive to call over the phone. And here I have this possibility to go somewhere, and yet I can't be on antidepressants. Well, I overcame that. I healed myself from depression.
How did you do that?
Well, I realized that I could sit here and be on antidepressants and be miserable in my life here where I'm living, or I could go off and do something really exciting. I could go play in my life and go live an adventurous experience living with a family in a foreign country, eating foreign food, meeting foreign people, and speaking a foreign language. And that's when I first connected with the power of play, which is one of the sides of the happiness prism, is play.
Oh, I like that. Play.
Yes. And then fast forward, I am married to an amazing Australian man. Amazing. And he has his parents over visiting. We are actually in the Florida Keys, and I am blessed with in-laws that I adore. And my mother-in-law and my father-in-law decide they want to go out on a bike ride by themselves, and we say, well, okay. And an hour later, we get a phone call. And we hear that his mother, being Australian, looked the wrong way and was tragically hit by a car. And here we are left with the profound impact of losing a family member who was actually in her own right a phenomenal woman. And she had such an impact on people, and yet she had no idea. She was on the national news in Australia. She was all over the news in the United States. And yet we find out that she was suffering from depression as well.
Wow.
And that here she had this massive impact on people. And yet she had no idea. And it was in that moment that I realized, oh my gosh, life is short. And I love people. And I care about making a difference with people. And that if I have one little inkling, an ounce of the gift that she had and she didn't know about it, and I can know a little bit about a gift that I have, I'm going to follow this. And that's when I connected with the power and importance of progress. And that's actually the bottom part of the triangle for the visual people out there. Think about this. And then fast forward, I have two beautiful children, blessed with a gorgeous little girl, Tilly, and a little boy named Finn. And Finn, at the time, was 6 weeks old. And something's not right. And I'm changing his onesie, and I realize his arm's really swollen, and something's just not right. So we go to the local doctor, and he says, I need you to go to the children's hospital. And he didn't really explain anything. He just said, you need to go immediately, and they'll take you from there. Well, 8 hours later, I find myself in the oncology ward of a children's hospital, alone with my 6-week-old son, in the darkness of this room. And that's when I got really quiet, and of course tears streaming down my face, and I looked up and I asked for help. And that's when I really first connected with the fact that there are forces at work way beyond me, and the importance and power of peace. And in the time that we spent in that oncology ward, we spent 2 weeks. I got quiet. I asked for help. I reached out to people, and I loved on my son. And we left the oncology ward 2 weeks later with the diagnosis of a medical mystery. And although he was still not fully healed, they suspected he would heal. And 1 year later, we were informed that he's a medical miracle. He will go down in history books, medical journals, and that there is no proof that anything ever happened to him. Even after every medical test possible was taken to try to diagnose him. They had teams of doctors from hematology, oncology, orthopedic, and general practitioners all looking at him and scratching their heads. And to this day, he is a happy, healthy, thriving boy. He's 3.5 now. He's a handful, but he's cute. And there's no proof except there's a little scar on the outside of his arm to remind us of the superhuman that he is, and the miracle that he is, and the miracle that all children are, really.
What a wonderful, wonderful story.
So that's the, we kind of dive, but that's the truth about who I am. I know before the show you asked me if I was going to be willing to share my story. Well, I am, because that's who I am. I share all of me. I share all of me in my work, and I know that's what really serves people, because I sit here and I have a huge smile on my face, and there's been times in my life that people thought that can't be real. Well, it is. And yet I still have stuff.
You still have stuff.
I still have stuff.
But you keep smiling.
Exactly. I keep finding my way back to happy. And we talk a lot about that in my household. I talk a lot about it in my coaching, but I have utilized my own journey and still continue even to this day. I had some crazy things happen a week ago, but I'm such a stand for this concept, my happiness prism, to share it with the world, because I know it has served me and dozens upon dozens of others to find that way back to happy, because stuff happens. I hit so much traffic here. I can't even tell you how much traffic. Marilyn can tell you. I called her how many times? I'm coming. It's just going to be a little bit later. And yet I was in that moment, and at any moment I actually had the choice. I can let the traffic upset me, or I can focus on my commitment to be here, to be with you, and to efficiently arrive. Not to arrive all agitated and frustrated from the drive, but rather arrive in a happy, joyful manner.
Do you know how many people need to do that out there? We get stuck in this wonderful traffic that we have here in Connecticut or New York City or Detroit, Michigan, or, anywhere like that. And we're sitting there going, don't these people realize that I have a place to be? Don't they work? Don't they have a place to go?
Yeah.
And we do. We get all caught up, right? You're relating to this. Of course you are. We all do it. But then you have your happiness prism and your way of finding peace.
Yes.
In a challenging situation. It's I had to wait all these years to do this, and I don't do it as well as she. I have my own, my kind of thing. and it works, but I have to work at it. But you go to that special place, right? And
well, I go through it's basically a 4-step process, to be honest. And this is a process we can share with all of you today that you can totally take with you and already use it to, literally, as you offered in the intro, to transform your life. It's that powerful. And what that process is that you first ask yourself, who do I require to be to experience happiness in this moment? That's the first question. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm feeling like, right? And so I ask myself, who do I require to be to experience happiness in this moment? Which seems like a stretch from where I was, right? Very agitated, frustrated. I'm running late. This doesn't work. And the word I got was Zen, which probably isn't surprising. But for me to focus on being Zen, I was going to experience happiness, even with whatever was swirling around me. I then asked myself, what do I require to do to experience peace? And so what I got was to listen to a certain audio that I appreciate listening to. And then I asked myself, what do I require to do to incorporate play? And I'm driving a car, so it's not like I can get out and dance. Like a lot of times I invite people to dance but I just connected in that moment, and it was just smile. That's all I needed to do, was to just smile, and I got to experience playful energy. And then when I asked myself, what do I need to do to progress? It was to keep checking in with you and just communicating to you that you knew I was coming, you knew my intention was there, and then also to stay focused and intentional on the road and continue to actually say to myself, flowing traffic, flowing traffic, flowing traffic. Because this is a secret tip, and it's so powerful, and it's so simple. But this tip is, focus on where you want to go. I used to be, one of my first professions, which probably would surprise you, was that of a ski instructor. I was an Aspen ski instructor.
Oh, wow.
And so, of course, right, I love play. Play is a huge component of who I am and how I show up and what really drives me. Because considering the happiness prism, we, especially in the Western world, we live in progress. Like, we measure our results in progress. We always want to go, and we think that's where we're going to get actually to happiness. But when you jump into go without checking in with peace and play, you're not as effective, you're not as happy, and that's how we have so many people that are exhausted. And you shared earlier too, with me, we were talking about that the possibility for having a conversation around happiness and in a peaceful, spiritual, Zen manner on mainstream television or mainstream media is available now because the world's exhausted.
Yeah.
They're done being stuck in the progress energy. There's more to life, and yet we still have to progress.
Exactly.
So years ago, I'm an Aspen ski instructor, and I'm teaching people to ski through trees.
Through trees?
Yeah, you ski down.
She used the word through trees. People.
Yes, okay. So you're skiing trees. Because a seasoned skier or snowboarder will tell you that the best snow is found up in the trees.
Yes, it is.
When there's good powder, right?
Yes.
Well, what's going to happen if you focus on the tree?
I would run into it.
Anyone
Yes.
will. Anyone will. It's a fact that you go where your attention goes.
Okay.
So you have to be knowledgeable that the trees are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where is it that you really want to go?
In between or around?
Yeah. You want to go in the powder in between the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But so much of what we do in life, there's something attractive to the drama, usually, of the tree. That it's like, oh, I don't want to hit the tree. I don't want to hit the tree. But the more you say, I don't want to hit the tree, where's your attention going?
To the tree.
Yeah. So apply that to the example of the car. And I'm driving tonight. I don't want to hit traffic. I don't want to hit traffic. I don't want to be late. I'm going to get more of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept saying, flowing traffic, flowing traffic, flowing traffic, flowing traffic, flowing traffic. And what did I get?
Flowing traffic.
Yes. Oh, and then the gas goes ding. The little E comes on in the light.
Little thing. Yeah.
Yes. And then I go flowing traffic, gas on the highway, one of those plazas. I'm not familiar with this highway, so I'm not as up here. So I wasn't exactly sure where there might be one, but I was that's what my intention was. Flowing traffic, yes. Flowing traffic, yes. And what do you know?
You found a gas station.
Within a few miles of beginning that declaration. And I know this sounds so simple, and I know people, there's probably skeptics out there going, it just sounds so easy. And yes, I've been working at it for a while. And yet you can start today with just putting that application of putting your intention of where you do want to go versus trying to run from where you know you don't want to go. Does that make sense?
It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It does. Okay.
But I feel compelled to share with you further.
Please,
if that's okay.
Share.
Is the whole idea of the prism though is it's not just a triangle. Because I'm sitting here and I'm showing the viewers this triangle that's over my heart chakra, because it's the heart of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe, and this is up for you to choose, we are all beings of light. And that we use the phrase, you're lit up, when you're in a really good space. Well, if you consider that, and even if you just play with that, whether or not you believe that aspect of things, if you're in a really great way and you're well harmonized, right, between your play, peace, and progress, and you're shining your light out on the world through your prism, what do we get?
Happiness.
What happens when you shine a light through a prism?
All those colors.
The rainbow.
All those beautiful, beautiful colors in a rainbow.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man.
And that's where this concept, the prism, goes forth.
Oh.
Because we as human beings are connected. And whether or not we care to think of it that way or really want to take responsibility for that past consideration, when we're lit up, we shine on the world. And who we're impacting is our family, our friends, our local community, the nation, the globe, and if you're open to it, the universe. So if we can shine our light in a big way, we have a big positive impact out there on the world.
Yeah.
And that's where this happiness business that we talk about here, being the happiness heroine, ties into the idea of leadership. Because when we start to take responsibility for our own happiness, we get to have a positive impact and therefore a greater impact on our communities, our families, our organizations than we would have if we aren't as harmonized or balanced. If we aren't honoring all those aspects of the prism, the triangle collapses. And try as we might to shine our light, the ability to shine doesn't expand and stretch at the breadth that we actually desire it to do.
Wow. So what you're saying is that each of us has the ability to have a happiness prism and to influence other people in a positive way and become a leader of sorts, right? We all have that capability.
Well, in reality, and what I teach and believe is we're all leaders. Because once you take responsibility that you get to lead your own life, even if you have, whether you have a following of 1 or 1,001, you're a leader. Because there's a different level of reverence that comes with that word. That when we take ownership, it's like, oh, I get to choose if I'm going to watch this show. I get to choose what I'm going to drink today. I get to choose if I'm going to be happy today.
I have to say, I love this. This is really, it's positive, you know? I know I try to smile all the time because I like to smile, you know? I mean, who wants to see somebody that's an ogre, you know? And I feel good. I feel good. I mean, I've had a lot of things in life. We all have stuff, you know, we've had it on and off. And I'm just in such a happy place in my life that smile just appears. And you could ask my dog, if you want to know, that I wake up with a smile in the morning. I can be half asleep and I'm going, hello. And then he smiles back, of course.
As they do, yes.
They do. So the happiness prism has 3 sides. Progress is on the bottom.
The bottom.
That's the base, if you will.
Yes. Because you can be in play, you can be in peace, you can be in play, and we all know people that are really good at the peace. Right? Yeah. And we talk about it like yogis, right? But a yogi has to get off the yoga mat.
Sometime he has to, yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we have to progress. Yeah. I mean, the same thing in play. Like I find that my clients and even myself can gravitate towards one or the other depending upon certain energies and such. But if you spend your whole life sitting in play, you're not getting anywhere.
No progress.
Yeah, no progress. And play can get exhausting. You can actually get, like, almost, dare I say, blissed out. because play, especially in this day and age, requires funding and it requires rest. You can't be on go. I mean, I love watching my 3 and 5-year-old try to be on go, and then, right? That's when peace comes in. Sometimes peace is taking a good nap.
Yeah. But it's true. Everything you're saying is true. I like to play. I have friends. We like to play. We just finished playing on a cruise ship, and my grandkids were my roommates, so naturally there was that element too. And I didn't want to come home though. You know, the human being, when they do start playing, we don't want to stop because it's just so much fun.
Well, and let's talk about that.
Yes.
When was the last time you went on vacation?
Well, I just got back.
Yeah, but before that?
Before that, before that it was 2 years. However, I did go to see my son in Japan in November. That was an official family visit of almost a month. And we had fun. We had fun. A different kind of fun, though.
Yes. Oh, that's completely different. Yeah.
It's a different world. And I didn't want to come home from that either. Well, you know, it was just so great there. Very peaceful. Peaceful people. They work hard. They work very, very hard. But they are so, I don't know if you could say they're happy, but they seem to know who they are. At least, you know, that was what I perceived. And they all have stuff, you know, but they smile a lot. They do. They smile a lot in Japan. And the kids are adorable. They're just so, and they smile all the time, the kids, even though they go to school 6 days a week. But, you know, balance. We're talking about balancing the play and the peace, and then it results in progress if you do everything but in a balanced manner. How can you be balanced when you're working 6 days a week or going to school 6 days a week? You have 1 day for play and family, but they smile. I don't get that. I need more than that. I need more.
That's likely why you are in this culture.
Yes. I fit this culture much better. Better. Although there are weeks when I'm working, you know, 6 days a week, but that's because I like what I do. You like what you do.
Yes, and that's the thing. There is overlap, right? Like a yoga instructor is kind of connecting with peace and progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I wanted to bring up, because you brought up a fantastic point of, you know, when we go away on vacation, sometimes it's like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
And the reason why is, and I invite you to play with this and see if this resonates with you, I find so much the time the people don't want to come back is for many reasons, but oftentimes it's because they haven't allowed themselves enough play. So it's like they've been on such a strict diet that when they do get a little bit of taste of play, it's like they want to hoard. And that's where it's important if you actually, and I know you're great at this already, but if you actually thread play into your everyday, you won't feel that requirement to overindulge when you actually do get to go on vacation. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes sense.
And in fact, like there's science that proves this, that to have mini vacations, like a 20-minute break in the day and literally like vacate, whether you go out of your office, if you work in an office, you go for a walk, go for a swim, walking an animal is fantastic. I mean, there's ways to incorporate play that don't have to be some huge expensive cruise while you're, you know, saving up for the cruise.
Absolutely.
But that was a little piece that I wanted to point out. The other aspect I find that people don't want to come back from their vacation is because they're not happy in what they are doing for progress, like career-wise and so forth. And perhaps there's something else that needs to be identified and looked at in that realm, that maybe progress can look like progressing to another job. progressing to another career. Like that there might be some bigger questions that they're being required to be answered beyond the fact that, oh, this vacation feels so good, I don't want to end. Well, is there something else you need to ask yourself?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And you know what? Think about that. We're going to take a couple-minute break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to continue talking with Jan Hoath, okay? So we'll be right back.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And welcome back. I love that dog. Every time I see that dog, I see, well, my dog's a Samoyed, and I see that dog during the break, and I just sit here smiling because I think about my dog. How great is that? So we were talking with Jan Hoath about the transition that you can have in your life with the happiness prism, balancing your play and your peace and your progress. And so we were talking, you mentioned walking the dog is a good plaything, in the middle of the day if you can do it. I also find it, yes, it's playful because he's playful, but I also find it very peaceful.
Yes. And thank you for touching on that, because that's what's pretty powerful about connecting with your happiness prism. And that's why, where I come from and my teachings and the way I serve my clients is I believe your wisdom is within you and that you just require a little bit of help to pull it out. And that's what I found has been so powerful for me in sharing the happiness prism, is that it helps people connect with their unique formula for happiness. So you ask yourself, who do I require to be to experience happiness? What do I require to do to play today? And I will tell you, I'm often surprised by what comes through, because it may be that walking the dog is peace. It may be that walking the dog is play. It might even be that walking the dog is progress, because you know it's something you need to get done. But understanding that when you take the time and ask what your truth is here, and that's what I really am committed to, is you finding your happy truth. And that's what I mean when I say we all have our own inner guidance and our own inner wisdom. And when we connect with our truth, that's why I call it the happy truth. Because when you're fully aligned with what your answer is to those questions, that's when you are in true happiness. That's when you're unshakable, because you're so aligned with your, as I say, greater self, that it's not an outside influence, it's coming from within, that no one can take that away from you. So using the example of walking the dog and just really being with, well, what is that one thing I'm going to do today to play? And just really connect with that. And sometimes it's just really wacky things that come through for me. And in fact, I have an awesome example. And I use the happiness prism literally when I get into a snag. Like, I'm driving here and it's starting to not be as pleasant and I'm veering away from happy. In fact, I talk a lot about the happiness scale. There's happy, there's peace, and then there's not happy. Because we really try to keep it simple for our kids.
Oh yeah.
But I also realize, like, you could spend a lot of time identifying all the other emotions that you're going through. But the truth is, personally, I'm committed to being in peace to happy. And sometimes we can't always get to happy. And that's the reality here. Like, I really want to share, like, I'm not always this bubbly and excited. Peace can be a good space. But there was a moment, a morning, and my daughter was choosing to be in not happy and refusing to go to school. And I'm breathing We also practice yoga breaths. So sometimes peace in a minute or moment is yoga breath. Deep breath in, deep exhale. And I asked myself, what's the one thing I can do to play here? And I thought, okay, it's going to have to be pretty outrageous to get my child's attention. Well, I said, meet me in the car. I have a surprise. And she could feel my energy because it was like I was excited about my idea. Well, I get her in the car and my son in the car, and I show up with 3 wigs out of our dress-up box. And I'll tell you what, these aren't children's wigs. I will openly share, yes, play is a huge portion of who I am as a being. And these are like adult wigs. I had like a big afro, and I had like a long blonde hair, and I had a blue wig. from Germany, from my when I used to go out to discotheques and dance all night, I had this crazy awesome blue wig, and I just put it on and didn't say anything, and I could see her trying so hard not to smile, and she was like, and I just asked her, I said, do you want me to wear it all the way to school? And she said yes. And she was fine sitting in the car, and she was like, okay. So I drive to school, and I pull up at school, and I said, do you want me to walk you to the door? And she said yes. And of course, she made sure that everyone at the school saw that I had this wig on.
Of course.
And then I walked my son to his classroom, and everyone got to see. And the amazing piece of that, which is so powerful, coming to the idea of the happiness prism, my intention was to find my happy place so I could assist my daughter to find a happy place.
Right.
But how many people did I actually impact along the way?
Everybody that saw you.
Everyone I drove by. All of the teachers. In fact, the school director pulled me aside and said, you made my day. And all of this was out of the simple intention for me to find peace and happiness in a moment where I was having trouble. And that's how powerful and yet how simple this work is that I'm committed to bringing to the world.
Wow.
And you know, beginning with you and your viewers. So I'm so delighted, once again, to be able to be here and share this, because I know what a difference it's made for me and my clients, and what a difference it can make for others when they, you know, are interested to come and learn and play with me.
Well, that's a nice invitation, isn't it?
I mean that anyway.
No. But you know, it's true. We don't play enough. And when we're adults, we have serious demands. Most young couples today both work out of the necessity to survive. And what that does is it cuts into your family time, cuts into your friend time, cuts into your couple time. And how do you find enough hours in the day to balance it? I can hear you now, okay? I can hear all of you, a lot of you out there saying, I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time. Why? Because we say that a lot. We really do. I have a friend who I went on a cruise with, and she and I need to get together. And we've got some unfinished work because it was part work and part play. And it was like, when can we get together? And I said, this day. And she says, no, I don't have any time. It was a juggling act. So we finally figured out we're going to get together tomorrow because we have to. We have to do these things. And after we decided on that, and I'm, done with the phone call, done with the texts, and I'm writing it down, I said, that's really sad that we had to fight our calendars to find this time. And I guess progress in the form of work was getting in the way. Progress in the form of commitments was kind of getting in the way in order to get to the progress that we needed to do, which was to get together. And yeah, we're going to get together to do some work, but with us, it's not all work. It's a little bit of work and a lot of fun. So, we'll have that play, and then afterward comes the peace when you're driving home and you're smiling because you had such a great time together. And it's kind of sad that we just can't find a lot of people just can't find the time to do what they need to do.
Yes, it is a new kind of thinking. It's a new training, and it's becoming more and more mainstream with all the positive psychology degrees and experts coming into the field, even in executive coaching. And they're finding, though, more and more statistically, that people who are happier are 31% more productive. And yet it seems it's challenging because so much of our world is based on results.
Yeah.
And so many companies are based, they want to know the bottom line.
Exactly.
And how do you quantify happiness? How can you put even a price tag on happiness? And yet it's because the world is stressed out and exhausted and overwhelmed, and structures and economic systems are falling apart, it's causing the world to start to listen. Where countries like Bhutan are honoring their gross national happiness over their gross national product.
Wow.
And like the UN has an International Happiness Day. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So more and more, the world is starting to wake up. And yet there's a lot of skeptics out there. And good reason why. Because we've spent generations focusing on get it done, not how do you feel in the process. But the crazy thing is if you focus on feeling great in the process, you get the job done and you feel great at the end as well.
In other words, every company out there, write this down, okay? Every company out there, no matter if they have 5 people or 500 people or more, should consider adding in some elements into their employees' day. Whether it, and quite a few companies are starting to do this, aren't they?
Google and Amazon, and there's a lot of companies out there that are committed to increasing and enhancing their employees' experience because they know that it's making a difference. There's other greater statistics about employees' longevity with the company and ability to learn and ability to support and sales and so forth. There are more and more statistics to serve what people like myself, who I would really say I'm also a spiritual leadership coach. In coming from the spiritual aspect, it's what I've known and spiritual leaders down through the centuries have known from the beginning of time, that we're here to enjoy life.
Boy, that's for sure.
And that, now like the conventional world, if you will, I'm not even sure how to lovingly articulate it, but that the world that we live in with companies and money and everything else is starting to come together, that science and spirituality are arriving at the same answer.
I have to tell you something. When I owned an ad agency for about 12 years in upstate New York, we had a lot of pressure, a lot of clients. I had a good-sized staff. And in my office, I had one of those little basketball hoop toys. And I had it to the right, and I had another one to the left. And what I used to do was I would jot down notes. I was trying to be inventive, creative. And if I wrote something down, I said, oh, that stinks. I'd ball it up and it would go on the left side. Okay. It had a little box underneath. And if I got something that was close but not quite there, I'd say, close. Okay. That goes on the right. That was my sense of play because when you are in a creative field, you have to add play to keep those creative juices going. And it helped me become better at what I needed to do. And it also made me smile, which is really kind of important.
Well, but it's all connected. It's all connected. And, you know, and there's that term, work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I know of hedge fund managers that are extreme skiers. Like, they know they've got to have a powerful outlet to match the level of powerful progress.
Right.
So there's more and more, like, again, it's this dance of science and spirituality coming together to arrive at happiness. And joy is the key to creativity. It's the key to forward movement. It's the key to abundance. It's the key to all of these pieces that at the end of the day, that's all we really want anyway, is to be happy.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Everybody that's watching this is seeing how bright and sparkling and happy this girl is. And, you know, anybody younger than me is a girl. Okay, so you're a girl. And I love the energy. But, you know, there's one thing that we haven't talked about that is an ability that you have. You're also very intuitive.
Yes.
Now, is this something that you have always had?
Well, apparently, yes. It's. I would say that I've always had it, and it's taken a journey to discover it. That as we see the world through our eyes, we just think that's how everyone sees it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm a little bit moved because I knew you were going to ask this question, and yet this is, I think, the first time I've had an opportunity to answer it in this way. But I'm a visionary. I have very big visions for myself and the world. And I have that ability to see in others. And my husband, whom I love dearly, works in the corporate world, and he would articulate it as that I can see the true potential in people. Kind of like Michelangelo could see the marble and then see the statue inside before he carved. That's how I see that in people. And so, like I said before, I believe your highest, best, happiest truth and wisdom is within you. I can see that, and I can help draw it out of people. And that's where my divine gifts really come into play in the work that I do.
You know, it's interesting because when I have a conversation with this person on the phone, and I say something to her, and there's a pause, and I'm going almost to myself, hello? And she says, yes, I can feel it, or yes, I can see it. And it's pretty amazing because she's saying the truth. Because you feel it.
I feel things and I see things.
Yeah.
And I am really committed to utilizing these to assist people in leading and living their best lives.
So tell me, how can our viewers, how can they be assisted and guided by you? How do you offer your services?
Well, I do offer group programs. I offer private coaching programs, and I also offer iron retreats. And I really meet my clients where they're at, where they might be new on a spiritual journey, or they might be masters. I work with the whole range and the whole gamut, and I work with a variety of vocations, which always surprises me. People ask, well, who do you work well with? I work well with people who are open and who are ready for something more. They're ready to end the struggle. They're ready to live. And even I sent out an email today about breaking the proverbial glass ceiling on happiness. Like, they know there's something more for them, and they are likely like me, that they see a bigger vision for themselves, and or they can feel it and sense it, and they either haven't seen it yet, or they know it's out there and they just don't know how to do anything towards it. Because when you start to live in true harmony with your path, you, just like every 7 billion others, have a unique path and actually a unique purpose in this thread of life. So there's no business as usual when you get in tune with your spiritual path. And I definitely find that that's where it's powerful to have someone to walk your hand through that experience, because it's like, likely the way your life looks right now is not going to look like where it is when you actually are in that true happy place. And so I have actually a gorgeous 6-week program, a group program coming up next week. I have a few spots left, so if anyone wants to jump in that. And then I also have an elite program that is a 6 or 12-month program for the leader who knows that they are committed, they're looking for a high level of support, and it's a non-negotiable. Because when you get committed to really owning happiness as your vehicle to an amazing life with a massive impact, you do require support.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also have a gorgeous program that I'm putting together for 4 extraordinary women to go sailing with me, which is my happy place, to be out on a sailboat and in the Caribbean. And I'm going to walk these women through a really powerful journey. So that is a program to really connect even deeper and go to a whole new realm with happiness through the happiness prism. So there's many ways for people to go on a journey with me, and all they have to do is pick up the phone and call or send me an email, and I'm there, because I know I'm here to serve, and that the people who will learn best from me, they show up.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, who wouldn't love going on a sailboat in the Caribbean? I just got back from there, and as I told you, I didn't want to come home. But that was not that I didn't want to come home. I was just having such a good time, and I was relaxed. I was at peace. And I do have a tendency to get more progressive in my thinking than peaceful and playful.
Yes.
So I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to think of you and the things that you've been saying and start applying that to my life, because, we all have options. We have choices in life.
Yeah.
And somebody says, I don't have a choice about that. Not true. We always have a choice about everything that we do, everything that we're faced with. We can either be in traffic and in a horrible state of mind, or we can say, flowing traffic.
Which sounds corny, and yet it works. Right?
But it works. Hey, whatever, it works. This has been truly a treat. It's been wonderful. I knew it would be.
Yeah, thank you.
I just knew. And you've just been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know our viewers have enjoyed it too.
Yes, it's been my honor to be here, to be with you. And yes, I just, would lovingly invite anyone who has a sense inside, because that's the work I do, is help people to really connect with their own intuition. So if you're having any kind of pull towards me, we can just have a conversation and see what the next direction is for you, and go from there, because we really are all meant to live an amazing life, and we all deserve to be happy. And just like you said, it is a choice, because we do have free will.
Absolutely.
So you get to choose. So
yes.
Yeah.
And her information is right there on your screen, so write it down, okay? Now, I like to finish the show with a quote.
Okay.
And I came up with 2 of them.
Okay.
Okay. I got a little inspired. And I felt that they fit what we've been talking about. One of them is from Queen Latifah, and I'm a big fan of hers. And she says, be bold. Be brave enough to be your true self. Yeah. And then from William James, there is but one cause of human failure, and that is woman's lack of faith in his or her true self.
Yeah.
So it's up to us. It's up to us. And one thing, look at that smiling face. It just comes right through to everybody that's watching. I love it. I just want to remind everybody that is watching that we're here for you, okay? The guests that I bring on our show, I bring them on for a reason. I feel that they have something of value that can help you make your life better, help you make better choices, help you be healthier and happier. And that's really what it's all about. And I wrote something else down here too. Let me just find it. Think about how you can find your true self and search for harmony in your life, which will then lead you to happiness and abundance. Why? Because that's the way it works. That's the path. That's the way it works. So think about it. And as I always say, write down your ideas and look at them and be true to yourself and be healthy and happy. And we will see you on our next show. I'll have another great guest. So thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.